What is up, Cataclysm Gaming? I'm your host, Grim Reaper, bringing you our new series that's going to help you compete against the best of the best. We're also going to prepare you for Premier in every division. Open, Intermediate, Advanced, Elite, and Contender by going over each map week by week that's in the competitive pool. Sit back, get your notebooks out, and let's get into it. What's going on, guys? We're on week 4 of Premier, and I'm back with Cypher. We'll be covering Sunset and showing you why Cypher is crazy good on this map. I'll be covering over on the A bomb site, tripwires, cages, cams, mid, and B site. So let's get right into it, guys. First off, starting over on the A bomb site, I'm gonna show you some cameras that are gonna be used for more aggro info. Over here, starting towards A main, right after barriers drop, you're gonna throw this cam right here, jump low throw. You're gonna get deep info A lobby and full orb control, and if they're walking up, you get early info. Now with this camera, you can also bait it, swing off of it when the enemy team tries to approach to break it. The next camera I'm gonna show you, if you're towards elbow on A, is after barriers drop, you're gonna jump through this cam and you'll get early info right away for A main. Yes, most enemies are gonna break this camera, but this is gonna allow you to see how many people on the map very early to get your team to rotate or push out B main. Now those are 2 aggro cams. Now I'm going to show you 3 passive cameras that are going to work for this bomb site as well. Starting with elbow, right over here, do a little jump throw. This is going to scan when they're walking up and allow you to see people if they're coming up A, and you could get really nice timings with this camera as well. If they're pushing up towards elbow, you can spot it, swing with it, and if they're walking up main, you have that info as well. So your full A site is fully covered by this cam. Next, if you're playing more of a retake but want the full info, any camera really up in this corner is going to allow you to scan people running out of elbow, people A main, and this is a good camera for retake, so you can see where the enemy plant the bomb, how they're set up. Gives you lots of info. Now the third camera towards A, what I like to use is this camera right up here. You'll see a lot of people in higher ranks and a lot of pros use this cam. First, you're going to be up here on this little jump up in mid, jump throw. This is going to allow you to get early info towards the A main and see people who are on the back wall of elbow and people at generator. Now let's talk about a bit of tripwires on this site. Now if you're playing for more of this A main and ramp control, placing a kill trap here and here, this is going to allow you to play with this camera that I showed you before for early info elbow, A main, and if they like to rush towards main, you pop this cage. Once they hit your trip, you're able to spam. If they're pushing you further, usually this is smoked off, and then you can get more spam kills through here. Another tripwire setup I like to do is, if you're playing more backside towards CT, is lining up over here, placing this trip off this little branch, right, like this little metal piece here to main, the little cage here to stall, then a tripwire here with this nice little one-way. And if you're playing towards CT, same type of camera, you can pop both these cages off. If they're pushing main and they hit the trip, you could spam them through this box. If they're coming up elbow, pop the cage, and then you could use this one way, spam them through the smoke here where the strip is. Now, let me show you what these cages look like from the enemy, especially this one way. So if the enemy team is pushing and you pop this cage, this is in their vision. This is what they see. So if you're further back, you get to see all their toes and shoot them for free. Another nice setup that you can do here, very similar to what the trip we had here, is putting it more deeper. And if the team likes to push out towards CT, putting any trip right here. Now for cages, you could do more of a cross cage right in the middle, and then another cage deeper here. With the same camera, you still get the same info, and then you're able to play off of these cages and trips. Same idea. Smoke pops here, able to spam through, pop this cage for repositioning, and if they hit the trip, you can spam them through here as well. Now towards A bomb site, if you're doing a full setup towards elbow, we can use this camera again, so you still have that A main info. A trip here along this wall with a cage, and then you can put another trip over here with another cage here. This is going to allow you to play off of this trip and camera together. Enemies walk up, they shoot the cam, pop the cage, they hit the trip, spray down, Pop this cage, and you're able to also shoot through whatever your trip scans here too. So you get all that free info, and you get to anchor down your site. Now, say your team wants to play a 2-1-2, and they're sticking you in mid. Well, I'm going to show you a setup that it's going to counter a lot of teams that like to aggro through this mid space without putting you in too much danger. First off, we're going to put the cam up here for late info that's going to allow you to play off of this. With our tripwires and cages, instead of doing the traditional tripwire here, let's have them walk into the space. So we're going to do a tripwire deep here and a tripwire here. After you put the tripwires, you're going to come over here, line up right under this ledge and this roof. You're going to bounce a cage right in the middle between them. Then for your second cage, you're going to bounce one off this wall. With these two cages, say you're playing on the left side, with your camera, enemies will walk up, and if they're really close to the trip, you can pop this one way, and you're able to shoot them through this one way, and the enemies are not going to be able to see you from either side. Now say you're playing towards Boba and towards B side instead of A. This cage is going to allow you to fall back, pop it, and have this glorious one-way off the camera and trip, and this is what the enemies see. So with those two cages and these tripwires, you're able to get kills of enemy teams who are pushing up mid. Either going towards A, they get hit by this trip, or if they're going towards B, they get hit by this trip, and both one-ways allow you to just deny them the space. With A and mid covered, let's go over to B site. I got a whole lot more to show you. We're going to cover market first, and there's a camera that's really good most people use. Now there's two sides of this. If you place it on this closer one, it's going to be able to spot deeper into market, like when they're coming towards the door. If you're going to put this camera more back, this is going to allow them to walk in more, but you get that info still, but not as early as you would like to. Both of these cameras are also going to be used for the main, and you're able to get tags from both sides. Now, sticking to market, I'm going to show you this one way that Chris or Cookie, shout out to him, showed me in a range game, right? Over by the B bomb site, put up your camera icon right here. While you're looking up, with the camera icon in the position through your cage, this is going to land up here, granting you a one-way for market. You can also play this with a trip, just really up close to the wall. That goes there. Together, both of these guys are going to be looking like this. You get a one-way, this is what the enemy sees. Pair that with the door, they can't really do much against you. Another setup that you can do, now talking about B bomb site and just the front site in general, say the team is running Raze, Sova, KO, a lot of stuff that's going to break your trips. Well, we have to adapt every single round. Say on piss around, most teams, they don't know how you're playing it. So putting a trip right at the barrier is really good. And then you can also play it with this camera as well. With this trip here, I like to do a one-way for B main as well. You're going to jump into this corner here, aim with your crosshair just right in this corner here. Another nice little side note to know if you're in the right spot, make sure your tripwire icon is in between this box right down here, like on the concrete, and then throw. It's gonna land up top, granting you a full one-way, allowing you to spam, and the enemies won't see you from upstairs, and if they're in the cage, they're fully blocked by your cage. This trip is usually going to get you pretty much, or get someone every round, especially if enemy teams are throwing util in this position or this position. Now, once the enemy team learn, well, we could go back to doing the basic unbreakable trip, but after the enemy team throw util, so you got to be quick with it. Other trips I like to do, this one right here, especially if you're towards market, pairing with this cage too. And this camera allows you to pop the cage using market smoked off. You can get some spams here, or if you were playing up here as well. This cage allows you to play up top, spam here, get info with your camera. So you can fully deny this front B space. Another camera I like to do over here is for early B main space. First, you're going to jump up on this little plateau, like this planter here. Jump up with the camera on the tree, bro. It's going to be a pretty high camera. But it's also going to scout people like who are here. You can see their feet going towards orb or going further out. Another camera, if you want deep info, is here. Most of these cameras will get broken right away. However, the info is going to be super impactful for your team. Now, say the enemy team are breaking this trip. Let's play both trips like this. First, you're going to come over here, and this is going to be a little bit deeper. It's going to go from there to there. And we can play a tripwire right here. The same one way I showed you before. But now we're going to do this trip, and then we're also going to do this camera. And we can play backside off of this. We get early info here, so if enemy teams are pushing out, they'll get hit by the trip, have to look for it. A will shoot them here. Cage triggered. Pop the one way, reposition, and just spam through your cages. Now, say the enemy team are fully committing all their util in these deeper spaces, and especially site, and they don't care if you're playing backside. Well, we could play further back. Same camera here. Let's do a deeper trip right here, so it denies the enemy team from jumping up and getting this close space. And then let's do a trip right over here. Now for cages, we're gonna do one right here and one right here. Now if you're playing backside, your camera's gonna be able to pop both these cages, and you get free info if they're coming up. If they break the camera and you hear them dashing out off of this tripwire, you can pop this cage, look for spams. Cage triggered. Pop this cage and move out, and pop spams right here where your other trip is too. And if the enemy team comes from market, you get all this info as well too. Now back to the same camera that we were playing for more aggressive space. Now say you've convinced the enemy team you're playing against that you're always playing off your trips. So no matter what type of trip you're doing, they know you're playing off of it. Well, let's do a mix-up. As Cypher, we can also play aggressive with this camera. Holding it out, they go to break. You're able to shoot people here and here. Now we'll roll the clip and show you exactly what that looks like in an actual game setting.
It's not it, it's not it. It's gonna be B-pop, careful B-pop.
Looking in front of me, I'm looking in this one.
Nice. Down B.
Cypher mid. Yeah. He's in.
Just thanked.
Nice, good shit.
Running.
Now, with defense A, mid, and defense B both went over, let me show you a little tips and tricks that I'll show you for camera placement on attack that's going to help you lurk and dominate the enemy team. Starting towards the B bomb site, if we're looking to attack and assist our team, instead of doing this trip, let's start doing this trip, guys. For starters, this trip's going to give you a little bit more info right away versus when enemies get closer. Instead of doing the basic camp here or here, I personally start to use this one. This is also going to be a little bit harder for the enemy defender to shoot because most defenders are pre-aiming either this side or this side. So you're able to get that early info right away and even a tag. Now, towards the A bomb site, a lot of teams and other players like to do this trip or even this deeper trip. But say the enemy team know you're doing this trip and they're just launching util like in this area or pre-aiming this spot here. This trip here. Off of this little pipe. So enemy teams who are like pre-firing this whole wall won't be able to pre-fire this trip that's already right here unless they're walking down to break in. But you could be also playing bait knowing that the enemy team are pushing it down, and you can just capitalize on that, guaranteeing you a first blood. I like to do either camera here, camera here, camera here, and you get the point. As a Cypher, especially on this map, a lot of teams are pre-firing these certain spots. However, you have 4 different walls to place this camera right away for early info. This is going to allow the enemy team not to necessarily shoot your cam early, but they're going to be confused on where you're going to place it and still give them or give you the info of how many people are here. Because this camera can be interchanged, swapping between left, right, center, right, center, allowing you to guarantee that you get info and the enemy team are not going to shoot it right away. Now, if you're looking towards the A bomb site, this is basically Cypher's playground over here. You could get info on the left side, throw a cage, pop the cage, and run forward, clearing your left, and if they hit the cage, you're able to just spam. As Cypher, your job is necessarily to lurk, but also provide pressure for your team on the other side of the map, gaining info of who's here. Throwing this cage, swinging out, maybe breaking a gecko flash, popping it, and then just walking back mid scares the whole defensive side of what's going on over here. Now, what I like to do is after I do all that commotion on A, I love to come towards mid in this corner, just listen for the rotation and try to capitalize a kill. Now, say I do get a kill in mid, I'll usually pop a cage here and rotate to my team. There's no point of being mid when you have a man advantage, or if you have a crazy timing, take the timing, go through mid as well. Now, say you're tasked at getting early info mid. First, right after barriers drop, if you're up here, jump through your camera. You get this quick early info of someone peeking market and top mid. And then if your team just smokes top mid for you, you're able to lurk all through the space. Be careful here. And you can get this deep info. Walk into market, do whatever you need to net your team value for your lurk. Now, sometimes what I like to do as Cypher, especially if I don't put like a deep A trip and I just tripped our B flank and we executed B, I'm this type of guy who will keep a trip in my pocket and throw tripwires on site to help me and my team in a post plan. Same thing goes for the A bomb site too. And there you guys go. Now you got everything you need to play Cypher on Sunset and dominate both your ranked games and Premier coming up. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Catch me on my next map breakdown. And I've been Grim Reaper. And remember, shoot your shot. Dang, I missed. Catch you later.